My husband, Rodrigo, 30 male, and I, 30 female, had been building up our emergency savings for years. We weren't rich, but we were responsible, always making sure to put something aside for the unexpected. We had worked hard to reach a comfortable amount, enough to cover a few months of expenses if anything went wrong. It was not meant for vacations or shopping sprees, just a safety net in case of job loss, medical emergencies, or anything unpredictable. Rodrigo's sister Ramona, 26 female, had always been a bit impulsive. She jumped from one idea to another, always looking for the next big thing that would make her rich. She never really stuck to anything for too long, and despite multiple failed ventures, she always insisted that the next opportunity was the one. Over the years, I had seen her start a handmade jewelry business, an online coaching service, and even a dog walking gig, only for all of them to fizzle out within months. One day, Rodrigo came home incredibly excited. He told me he had come across a once-in-a-lifetime investment opportunity through Ramona. According to him, it was guaranteed to double our money in just a month. It was some kind of product-based business where you buy in and then recruit others to do the same. He was convinced that it was legit and that it would be a game changer for us. I was skeptical right away. Sounded like one of those pyramid schemes people warn you about. I knew Ramona had been talking about a new business lately, and I had a gut feeling it was something shady. I told Rodrigo I was not comfortable with it, and I thought we should stay out of it. Our emergency fund was not meant for risky investments, especially not ones that sounded too good to be true. At the time, Rodrigo seemed to agree. He did not push back too much, and I assumed that was the end of it. I went about my life not realizing what was actually happening behind my back. A few weeks later, I logged into our bank account to check on our savings, only to find that most of it was gone. The emergency fund, the money we had worked so hard to build, and had been drained. My heart dropped. I checked the transaction history, hoping there was some kind of mistake, but there it was, a large withdrawal in Rodrigo's name. I confronted him immediately, demanding to know what happened. That is when he finally admitted the truth. He had taken the money and invested it in Ramona's business without telling me. He repeated all the same things, how it was a guaranteed return, how we would have twice the amount in just a few weeks, how he did it for us. He looked so confident, so sure that he had made the right choice, that it made me feel even worse. I was furious. This was not just about the money, it was about trust. He had taken something that belonged to both of us and thrown it into something completely unproven without even discussing it with me. I asked him what would happen if it did not work out, if we lost everything. He brushed off my concerns, saying that there was no way it could fail. But deep down, I knew better. I had seen too many stories about people losing everything to scams like this. I started looking into the company Ramona had roped him into, and sure enough, it was exactly what I feared. It was a classic pyramid scheme. They made money not by selling actual products, but by recruiting more people to buy in. The only ones who made money were the ones at the very top, while everyone else was left with nothing. I tried to warn Rodrigo, but he refused to listen. He insisted I was being negative, that I just did not understand how business worked. He kept saying we just had to trust the process, and that our big payday was coming. I watched as he became more and more invested in the whole thing, spending hours watching videos and reading posts from other people who had supposedly made fortunes. He even tried to recruit some of our friends who, thankfully, saw through it and did not fall for it. A month passed, and of course There was no payout. The money did not double. Instead, Rodrigo started getting messages from people he had recruited, asking when they would see their returns. He reached out to Ramona, but she kept saying that they just had to wait a little longer, that the money was coming soon. Weeks turned into months, and nothing happened. Ramona, of course, refused to take any responsibility. She kept saying that it was not her fault, that she had been scammed too, that she had lost money as well, but she had not lost anything close to what we had. Rodrigo had put in everything we had saved, and now we were left with nothing. As reality set in, Rodrigo went from denial to desperation. He started panicking about our finances, worrying about how we would cover any unexpected expenses, and then, to my absolute shock, he came to me with a solution. He wanted me to get a second job. I could not believe what I was hearing. He told me that since I was good with money, I should be the one to fix this. He said that if I picked up an extra shift or found a side hustle, we could rebuild the savings quickly. He even framed it like it was some kind of team effort, like we were in this together. But I was not the one who threw our money away. I was not the one who ignored all the red flags and drained our emergency fund for a scam. I was not the one who betrayed my partner's trust. And yet, here he was, acting like it was now my responsibility to clean up his mess. I told him no. I told him that I was not going to take on another job just because he made a terrible decision. I told him that he should be the one to fix it, that he should figure out a way to make up for what he lost. He got defensive, saying that I was not being supportive, that I was punishing him for a mistake. He said that marriage was about working together and that I was just making things worse. But I had my own idea of how to recover the money, and it did not involve overworking myself while he sat around feeling sorry for himself. I told him I was taking his entire family to court. As soon as the words left my mouth, he looked at me like I had just suggested setting the house on fire. He told me I was being dramatic, that I was taking things too far, but I was not. Ramona had convinced him to invest in a fraudulent scheme, and now we were paying the price. And if she was not going to take responsibility, then I was going to make sure she faced real consequences. I started gathering everything I needed. I went through our bank statements, documented every transaction, saved every message between Rodrigo and Ramona. I looked up legal options, reached out to a lawyer, and started figuring out how to build my case. Rodrigo was furious. He kept saying that I was tearing his family apart, that I was overreacting, that Ramona did not mean to scam us, but I did not care about what she meant to do. I cared about what she did, and what she did was convince my husband to throw away our emergency savings on an obvious scam. The more I dug into it, the worse it got. Ramona had not just dragged Rodrigo into it. She had recruited multiple people, including a few of her friends. Some of them had lost even more money than we had. When I reached out to them, I found out that they were just as angry as I was. I started putting together a case, not just against Ramona, but against the entire fraudulent company she had gotten involved with. I was done sitting back and letting this happen. If Rodrigo was not going to do anything about it, then I was. Rodrigo begged me to reconsider. He told me that if I did this, his family would never forgive me. He said that I was going to ruin their relationship forever, but I was not the one who ruined anything. Ramona did. And if he wanted to blame someone, he should be blaming her, not me. I filed the lawsuit. The process was long, stressful, and exhausting, but I refused to back down. I was not going to let this go, not after everything we had lost. Now, Rodrigo barely speaks to me. He's angry that I went through with it and that I did not just let it go like he wanted. His family has completely turned against me, saying I'm selfish and that I'm destroying them over money. But I don't see it that way. I see it as holding people accountable for their actions. I see it as making sure that this does not happen to someone else. AITA for refusing to let my husband's family get away with scamming us and taking legal action even though it's causing a huge rift in our marriage. Update 1. Rodrigo packed his things and left. He did not say much, just that he needed space and could not be around me anymore after what I had done to his family. He found a small apartment a few miles away, and from what I heard, it was not anything special. Cheap, barely furnished, and not in the best part of town, but it was all he could afford now, because I won the lawsuit. The court ruled in my favor, and the financial mess Rodrigo and his sister created had consequences. Ramona was held accountable, and some of the money was recovered, but it left a permanent rift between me and Rodrigo's entire family. They turned against me completely. To them, I was not the victim. I was the villain who had torn them apart. I had embarrassed them, exposed their mistakes, and forced them to pay for what they did. No one cared that it was their fault to begin with. No one wanted to acknowledge that if they had just listened, none of this would have happened. Rodrigo is completely broken now. The money he had once thrown away so carelessly was never coming back in full, and his financial situation was bleak. I knew it. And despite everything, part of me wanted to help him, not because he deserved it, but because I could not just shut off my feelings overnight. I had spent years loving him, building a life with him, and now he was at his lowest point. It was hard to watch, even after all the damage he had done. But Rodrigo would not take anything from me. He told me I had helped the family enough with my lawsuit. His words were sharp, bitter, and full of resentment. He did not see me as someone who had fought for justice. He saw me as someone who had taken everything from him. Even though I wanted to reach out, and even though I wanted to offer him something, anything, he would not accept it. After Rodrigo moved out, I expected to be completely cut off from his family forever. So when his mother showed up at my door, I was surprised. I was even more surprised when she did not come at me with anger or accusations like the rest of them had. Instead, she was strangely quiet, almost hesitant. She sat down in my living room, looking around like she had not expected to be there. And then, after a long silence, she told me that she supports my choice and she would back me up if I need her. I did not know how to respond. I had braced myself for another fight, another round of insults or guilt-tripping. But instead, she was calm. She told me that while the family would never admit it, deep down they knew I was not wrong. She said she had seen this coming, that she had warned Rodrigo and Ramona, but they did not listen. She told me that, if anything, I had been the only one who had tried to prevent this disaster before it happened. She didn't apologize, not exactly, but in her own words, she acknowledged that I had been right. That was more than I had ever expected. Then, just as quickly as she came, she left. She did not try to change anything, did not try to fix what was broken. She just wanted me to know. But her visit did not change the fact that I was alone in this now. I tried to move forward, but the weight of everything lingered. The silence in the house felt heavier. The spaces that once held Rodrigo's things, now just reminders of everything that had crumbled. I could not go a day without hearing whispers about what I had done. Friends that used to greet me warmly now hesitated, their words careful, as if choosing a side. His family continued to act like I had single-handedly ruined them, even though it was Rodrigo and Ramona's choices that led us here. I knew I had done what was necessary. I had protected my future, my finances, my stability. But every time I tried to reassure myself, there was still an ache inside me. Rodrigo was not the man I married anymore. Or maybe I had just been blind to who he really was all along. The worst part was that even though he had lost everything, even though he was struggling, he still could not take accountability. He would rather live in denial than admit that he was wrong. He would rather blame me than acknowledge that he put himself in this position. It made me wonder if I had not taken action, if I had just let things slide. Would he have ever woken up? Or would he have just continued throwing our money away, believing that luck or fate would turn things around? I tried to stop thinking about it, but it was hard. Every night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything that had happened. Did I make the right choice, or did I just lose more than I gained? Update 2. Rodrigo asked for a divorce. I was not surprised. After everything that had happened, it felt inevitable. The moment he lost the lawsuit, the moment he moved out, I knew we were standing at the edge of something final. But knowing it was coming did not make it any easier to process. He didn't try to sugarcoat it. He did not ask to talk things through or reflect on what went wrong. He just told me he wanted out. Simple as that. And honestly, I did not fight it. There was nothing left to fight for. The man I had married was gone, or maybe he had never been the man I thought he was. Either way, I had been holding on to something that no longer existed. Rodrigo framed it as a mutual decision, as if we both had come to the same realization at the same time. But I knew better. This was not mutual. This was him cutting ties because he could not handle the consequences of his own actions. It was easier for him to walk away than to face what he had done. His family, of course, was thrilled. To them, this was the final step in erasing me from their lives completely. They acted like I had never existed, like I had never been a part of their world. I should have been relieved, and in some ways I was, but part of me still felt hollow. Not because I wanted to stay with Rodrigo, not because I believed there was anything left to salvage, but because it hurt to realize that the person I had once built a life with was capable of turning his back on me so easily. I signed the papers without hesitation. It was time to let go. The divorce process itself was surprisingly fast. Rodrigo did not fight for anything, did not try to argue or make demands. Maybe because he knew he had nothing left to leverage. He had lost everything, his savings, his stability, his family's trust in him as the golden child. Maybe he thought ending our marriage was the last piece of control he had over his life. Despite everything, I found myself wondering what he was thinking. Did he regret it? Did he wish he had made different choices? Or was he still so deep in denial that he thought I was the problem all along? I never asked, and he never told me. The only words exchanged between us were through legal documents, signatures, and impersonal emails. After the papers were finalized, I expected some sort of final confrontation, something dramatic, something that would make it feel real. But it never came. Rodrigo simply faded away, disappearing into whatever life he was trying to build for himself. His mother was the only one who surprised me. While the rest of his family treated me like the villain, she showed up at my door again, a few days after the divorce was finalized. I thought she had come to scold me, to tell me how I had ruined Rodrigo's life, but instead she just stood there, looking tired, looking resigned. She told me I had done the right thing. I almost did not believe her at first. She seemed different, worn down. Maybe she had finally realized that protecting him had only made things worse in the end. She did not say much else, just that she hoped I would move on and find happiness. Did she understood why I did what I did? It was the closest thing to closure I was going to get from that family, and I took it. The weight of everything did not hit me all at once. It came in waves. Some days I felt free, like I had finally broken away from a toxic cycle. Other days I felt bitter, remembering all the sacrifices I had made, all the trust I had given, only for it to end like this. But at the end of it all, there was one thing I knew for sure. I had made the right choice. Even if it left me feeling hollow for a while, even if it made me question everything, I knew I had done what was necessary. Rodrigo was gone. His family had turned their backs on me, but I still had myself, and that was enough. Update 3. I am pregnant. I told Rodrigo and he was shocked. He didn't say much at first, just stared at me like he was trying to process something too big to comprehend. Then he left. I thought maybe he'd reach out right away, but he didn't. A whole week passed without a word. Then finally he contacted me. He said he would be there, that he was not going to run away from his responsibilities. I didn't know what I expected, but hearing him say those words gave me a strange mix of relief and frustration. Relief because at least he was not disappearing. Frustration because it felt like he was only committing to the bare minimum. Not because he actually wanted to be involved, but because he felt like he had to be. Since then, things have changed. His mother started visiting every week. At first, I was not sure how I felt about it, but she's been nothing but kind. She acts like she truly cares, like she wants to make up for everything that happened before. Maybe she sees this as a second chance. Maybe she just does not want to lose her grandchild. I don't know, but I let her in. She helps with small things, bringing food, offering to drive me to appointments, just sitting with me when I feel overwhelmed. It is strange how the person I used to see as an enemy has become my biggest supporter. Rodrigo visits every other day. He talks about doctor's appointments, about making sure I have everything I need, about being involved. He says all the right things, but I can't help but feel like we're just going through the motions. There's an unspoken distance between us, something that neither of us knows how to cross. He's physically here, but emotionally, I don't know where he stands. I can't tell if he's showing up because he wants to or because he feels obligated. Maybe it's both. Maybe he does not know either. And then there's the part that I was not prepared for. He's already dating again. I found out accidentally and it felt like someone had knocked the air out of me. I don't even know why it hit me so hard. We are divorced. He can do whatever he wants. But it doesn't feel fair. He gets to move on and to explore new relationships while I'm here carrying his child, stuck in this limbo where everything is changing. But I don't feel like I can move in any direction at all. Maybe I sound entitled, but I don't want him to date. I want him to be around me all the time. I want him to feel what I'm feeling, to go through this pregnancy the way I am, completely, fully, without distraction. But he doesn't see it that way. He's moving forward while I feel like I'm stuck in place. And the worst part, I can't even tell him that. I have no right to. As if that was not enough, my own family has started pressuring me. They think Rodrigo and I should get remarried for the sake of the baby. They tell me it would be the best thing for the child, that we should put the past behind us and focus on building a stable home together. I don't see it that way. I know how hard it was to leave, how much damage was done, and I do not think a baby should be a reason to force a relationship that was already broken. When I refused, they turned on me. Slowly at first, little comments, disapproving sighs, a general coldness in their responses, And then it escalated. Now they barely talk to me at all. They act like I'm the one making things difficult, like I'm throwing away a chance at a normal family. It's exhausting. And honestly, it hurts more than I want to admit. I always thought they would support me no matter what, but it turns out their idea of support only exists if I follow the path they think is best. So now the only person consistently around me is Rodrigo's mother. It is strange how things have shifted. The woman I once thought would stand against me is the only one who seems to be standing with me. She doesn't push me to take Rodrigo back. She does not try to tell me what to do. She just shows up, checks in, helps out, and I appreciate it more than I ever thought I would. She told me the other day that she thinks I did the right thing. That hit me harder than I expected. For so long, I felt like the bad guy, like I was the one who ruined everything. But hearing her say that made me feel for the first time in a long time that maybe I was not wrong. Maybe standing my ground was not selfish. Still, I can't shake the loneliness. I never imagined my life would look like this. Pregnant, navigating a weird, tangled relationship with my ex-husband, while his family is more supportive than my own. I do not know what's next, but all I can do is take things one day at a time. I wish I had the certainty that Rodrigo seems to have. He acts like he has figured out his path, like he's comfortable in whatever future he's carving out for himself. Meanwhile, I feel like I'm constantly second-guessing every decision I make. Maybe that's just part of being pregnant, or maybe it's because I've lost so much and I'm afraid of making another mistake. I'm trying to accept that this is my reality now, that I can't control Rodrigo's choices, that I can't force my family to see things from my perspective, but it's hard. It is really hard. All I know is that I have to keep going for me and for my baby. Update 4. I gathered up the courage to tell Rodrigo how I felt. It was not easy. I had spent weeks keeping my emotions bottled up, afraid of sounding unreasonable or selfish. But the weight of it all became too much. I needed him to know that seeing him date while I was pregnant with his child felt unfair, that I wanted him around more, that I was not sure how to navigate this strange situation where we were no longer together yet still tied together forever. To my surprise, he did not argue. He didn't get defensive or dismiss my feelings. He just listened. And then he said something unexpected. He would do as I pleased. That was months ago. Since then, things have shifted in ways I did not anticipate. Rodrigo stopped dating, or if he is, he's making sure I don't know about it. He visits more often, he's more present, more attentive. It feels like we are something again. I don't know what exactly. We're not together, but we are not apart in the same way we were before. There's an ease between us that was not there after the divorce, and sometimes, for a fleeting moment, I forget that we're not husband and wife anymore. His mother continues to be a steady presence in my life. She visits every week, sometimes more, depending on how I'm feeling. She has become the person I rely on the most, which still feels surreal to me. I never imagined that out of everyone, she would be the one standing by my side. But the more time passes, the more I wonder, are Rodrigo and I slowly finding our way back to each other? Would that be a wise decision? I don't know. What I do know is that he's here. He's making an effort. He's not the same man who threw away our emergency savings or dismissed my feelings. And despite everything, I still care about him. Maybe I never stopped. But is that enough? I have no idea. Update 5. We had the baby, a beautiful baby girl named Eleanor. Rodrigo and I started couples counseling 3 months before she was born. At first, I was not sure if it would change anything. There was so much history between us, so much resentment and hurt that I didn't know if we could truly move forward. But we committed to it. Session after session, we confronted our past. The mistakes we made, the ways we failed each other. Slowly we began to rebuild what was broken. Now we have made a lot of progress. We communicate better, we listen to each other. We are not perfect, but we are trying. And somehow, through all of it, we found our way back to each other. We are technically back together. It still feels surreal to say that. After everything that happened, I never thought we'd get to this place again. But here we are, navigating parenthood, our relationship, and everything in between, and for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. Another unexpected change has been my parents. They have started visiting often to see me and the baby. At first, I was not sure how to feel about it. Things were strained for so long, and I was not sure if their visits were just about Eleanor or if they truly wanted to reconnect with me. But over time, I have noticed a shift. The conversations aren't just about the baby, they ask about me too. They're making an effort, and I think, in their own way, they are trying to mend things. It's not perfect, but it is better. And I think that is all I can really ask for right now. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.